And on top of that, they love the flavors. So the flavors are what really captivate the individual that's using it. They can ask questions all day long about how do I get off of this, but I don't have the golden answers to tell them what they should do. Hello everybody, my name is Pej. I'm a drug interventionist. I help people with drug addiction, alcoholism, and mental health. Today we're going to be talking about vaping. We're talking about vaping with, young adults, teenagers, parents that are struggling to try to keep their kids from experimenting, doing this. One of the reasons that I felt compelled about talking about this today is I was just with a friend of mine who's actually an interventionist too, that was telling me maybe you can talk to my 14-year-old, and it's not the first time that this happens. Now that I'm much older, I'm 50 years old, I have a lot of friends of mine that I went to high school with that are, all grown up now. They all have kids that are teenagers, and they're telling me that their kids are also now being turned on to vaping, and they're worried because they think that this might transfer into other types of addictions, and truth be told, it really can't. I know that there's articles right now that you can look up and see about vaping in teenagers and how they market these types of products in a way to where they are targeting young adults, young teenagers. And, these kids, it's not like it was when we were in high school where there's a select few people that are going to a certain area to go smoke regular cigarettes. Now, these vapes can be easily accessible. They can be hidden. They can be hit in certain places, and there's not a scent that really gets left behind only within the moment, because it has obviously different types of flavors that there are, but it doesn't linger. So there haven't been enough tests that have been done to see what the dangers are of it, but it definitely has nicotine in it, and the nicotine becomes addictive, and these kids are already building an addiction by smoking this stuff. And when I say that it's being marketed towards certain kids, there's a lot of different types of colors, different types of names, different types of flavors, different types of advertisements, the way that they're displayed that seem to be appealing to the younger crowd. And on top of that, they love the flavors. So the flavors are what really captivate the individual that's using it. And then the nicotine obviously gets into their bloodstream and makes them want to always do it, and they become dependent upon it. I personally was a regular cigarette smoker from the time that I would say I started experimenting around the time I was about 12 to 14 years old. I had a couple of uncles, they were all smokers, and so without them knowing, I would sometimes go and sneak their cigarettes out of their pack and go and smoke it somewhere where nobody could see me doing it, and let alone smell it for that matter. But I ended up quitting smoking at the age of 43. I read this book by Alan Carr. It was called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. And more recently, I've noticed that Alan Carr has written books called Easy Way to Stop Vaping as well. I am getting a lot of messages through my TikTok videos. A lot of youngsters are finding me on Instagram. People that are under the age of 18, they're asking me what I think about nic. They're calling it nic, which is short for nicotine. They ask me how they can stop vaping. I think some of them are realizing at a very young age that they probably shouldn't be doing this, or that they're becoming dependent upon it, so they want to get off of it. And often I will refer them to the book and ask them to read that first, because how are you going to tell a kid to just stop smoking? I mean, if a kid is amongst their friends and they see that their friends are doing it, and then they're doing it, and they've developed this addiction, they can ask questions all day long about how do I get off of this, but I don't have the golden answers to tell them what they should do. Usually kids are asking because they're curious. They're just as curious to ask as they were to try it in the first place. And so, I think it doesn't really sit well with many people that are doing it. I don't want to say many. There are some that are just fine with doing it. Just like there are people that smoke regular cigarettes and have no problem doing it, and they do it for countless years. But when it comes to vaping, this is a very dangerous thing, because obviously what they're vaping is being inhaled. It's the vaporizers, the different types of things, and then that can turn into other things like weed pens, marijuana carts, the carts that are being distributed now. And a lot of kids, as much as it's illegal, will continue to be able to obtain it no matter what. It's not hard for kids to be able to get nicotine vapes. It's out there. It's very, very available, and even the underage can get their hands on it. So how do you know if your kid is actually vaping? Well, some kids are very open about it. Some kids get caught. Some kids get seen, or somebody will tell somebody's parents that your kid is vaping. I saw them vaping. And so how do you have a conversation with your kid about this stuff? You know, you can basically educate them on them. You can show them the various articles that are out there and how these people are trying to market and target the youth and try to get them to be able to do this. We can definitely try to get in front of it. There are nicotine tests that you can give your kid to be able to test them, and you can build your own conditions on what, since you are a legal guardian. So yes, as I was saying, you can test your kid. There are nicotine tests that are out there that are easily accessible. It'll show if they're positive for nicotine, and then you can basically make your own rules. I mean, it's your house, you're the legal guardian, and you're allowed to tell them that I will not allow this in my house. Or even when you're out and about, you cannot do this while you're living under my roof. And then best is to just keep educating them and letting them know the dangers of it. You know, obviously this is such a young generation of usage for vaping that there haven't been enough tests concluded as of yet to really know what the dangers of vaping are. But, you know, I've often said that no matter what you smoke, whether it be methamphetamines, crack cocaine, cigarettes, vaping, it cannot be good for your lung tissue. There's no way that you're not going to be affected. And knowing that people are doing this for long term, it could be highly dangerous. Now, something that I do want to talk about that has actually been eye-opening is the same way that I wanted to quit smoking cigarettes. You have to understand I was an asthmatic for a long time. So for many, many years of smoking regular cigarettes, I always knew in the back of my head that I need to get off of this stuff because I could get emphysema, I could get heart disease, I could get lung disease, and how do I stop? And so finally, when I did stop, I realized that there was other people that were quitting cigarettes and resorting to vaping because they thought that it was a safer way of smoking and being able to still smoke. And obviously, a lot of people will have that oral fixation where they have to constantly keep on smoking something. They think that it's going to take the edge off. They think it's going to relieve them of their stress, but in reality, it actually causes more stress. And so I know that there are people that are attempting to stop, both adults and both young people. And that's a good thing because they have this realization that they don't want to be stuck on this thing. They want to actually quit, and kudos to the ones that really want to stop. Also, it's always good to be educated to know what you're putting inside of your body because this is a very deadly thing. It can definitely lead into other things, but it can also lead into major health problems. You have to understand, what are they, these chemicals that they put inside of these. Now we're in a whole different realm of chemicals that are going into a tobacco product. And if it's written on the side of the box that these contain chemicals that could be health hazardous, again, it's something to think about, like why would you put this inside of your body when you don't even know? And all the different flavors that they are putting in there, just because it tastes good doesn't mean it cannot be bad for you. Is it poisonous? I'm sure that it is poisonous to a certain extent. Obviously, when you become dependent upon the tobacco is deadly. It can, over periods of time, deteriorate your lungs, your tissues. It can affect you most definitely. So if you or somebody you know is struggling with vaping, please do not hesitate to reach out and talk to us. We will do everything that we can to help lead you in the right direction to be able to overcome vaping or help your loved one overcome vaping too.